Okay, so this week is Parshas Noach, and what we open up the Torah portion, and what does it say? That Noach was a tzaddik; he was righteous in his generation. So there's two ways of looking at it. Either you could say, in his generation, compared to all the other evil people, he was righteous, he was a tzaddik, he was wonderful, he was great. Or you could look at it and say that he wasn't so great, because if he was in Abraham's generation, if he was in Avram's generation, he wouldn't have been so great. So he was only great, it was only a relative greatness compared to his people, compared to his generation. But if he was in a different generation, he could have been just like everybody else. So there's two ways of looking at it. Was he truly righteous, or was he just righteous in his generation? So there's two opinions, but we have a problem with these words that Noach was righteous in his generation, because Noach lived a really long life. Noach lived until Avraham was born, and Avraham was the gematria of Noach, which is 58. Avraham was the age of 58 when Noach passed away. So Noach really did live in Avraham's generation. So why are we saying if Noach lived in Avram's generation, we don't know if he would be considered so righteous, but he did live at the same time that Avram lived. So we have a problem with this. We have a problem with this interpretation. So to answer this, we're going to discuss, when did Avraham discover Hashem? Noach was different than Abraham. Noach had teachers who taught him that there is a God. But by the time Abraham came around, he discovered God completely on his own. And there are different opinions as to when did Abraham discover Hashem. Some opinions say he was 3. There are opinions that say he was 40. Opinions that say he was 48. There are opinions that say he was 50. So it's not that one is wrong and one is right. He started discovering God at the age of 3, but the Rambam chooses to say that Avram discovered God at the age of 40. And we ask, why does the Rambam only mention 40 and he doesn't mention 3 or 48 or 50? Why does he specifically say 40? And the answer is that the Rambam wants us to understand that knowing God, believing in God, is something that we all have the ability to do, and it's something logical. It's something that makes sense to believe in God. So if for a 3-year-old to discover God on his own, that is miraculous. But Rambam doesn't want to focus on that. The Rambam wants to focus on the fact that every single human being has the ability in a natural way to come to the conclusion with his own intellect and his own logic that there is a creator. And, I think in the Perek Avot, it says different ages, what a person can achieve. At the age of 5, they could start learning Chumash. The age of 30 is strength. You reach your strength. At the age of 40 is Bina. At the age of 40 is when a person has the ability to reach a level of complete understanding. So therefore, the Rambam focuses on, it says at the age of 40, that's when Avram completely understood God. And he's saying it to us because he wants us to realize that it's not a miraculous thing. But if anyone just takes, if anyone is really, truly looking for truth, they could on their own discover logically that there's a God. And then the Rambam goes into the Rambam, which is a book of halacha, goes into the whole history of how idol worship began. And it starts off, it says, Enosh made a big mistake. And it's a big mistake, a logical mistake. Because logically, it doesn't make sense to say that you should say thank you to the hammer that helped build your house. You're not going to say thank you to the hammer. You say thank you to the builder. So Hashem is the creator. So the thought process was, we still believe in God, but we're going to thank his tools. So that is a mistake, a logical mistake. And then where that led to. So that's what the Rambam does. He's basically goes through the whole history, and the question is, why do we need this whole history? First, there was Enosh, and then eventually they started only believing in the tools of God and forgot about God altogether. And the sun, the moon, the stars. And I saw Rabbi Paltiel. He said, I was listening to him because he's actually one of the teachers for this week. He says that when they served idols, they had wooden idols, silver idols, and gold idols. The wooden idols they would keep outside. The silver idols they would keep in the dining room, and the gold ones would keep in their bedroom, because the wooden idols could be replaced easily if it's stolen from outside. It's just so. Okay, so then we have Avraham, who discovers God, and Avram teaches us to Yitzchak. Yitzchak teaches us to Yaakov and to Yaakov's children, and Yaakov's children, then they go down to Egypt. And then guess what happens? They learn from the Egyptians and they start practicing idol worship as well. And all this is in the Rambam's, is an introduction of the Rambam's, of the laws of Avodah Zarah. We question, why is he going into this whole lengthy history explanation? And we still can't forget about our first question about Noach. Where does he fit into this picture? So let's go back to Avram. So Avram starts discovering God at the age of 3. At 40, he completely understands that there's a God. And maybe there were other people, because everyone has a brain. Everyone could question, this doesn't make sense. There's got to be something more than idols. But Avram was the only one who didn't let anything stop him. Another person could also have questions, but then they would tell him, listen, if you speak up, you're going to land in prison. We're going to kill you, or, just give up. Just give up. But Avram didn't give up. No matter what happened, he stuck to his beliefs. So that's why Avram was different than everybody else. And then what happened was, at that point, Abraham's strategy was that he would debate people, he would argue with people to prove to them in a very strong way that there's one God. And that's what he did up until the age of 70. Noach passed away when Avram was just 58. So true, Noach lived in the same time as Avraham, but Avram was still at the stage where he proved God's existence through debate and through arguments. and his life was in danger because no one knew what to do with him. If you can't win the discussion, let's just kill him. Because Nimrod said that he was the god. So he was a big threat. So let's just get rid of him. So that only later on in life, once Abraham goes to Israel, once Abraham is commanded, leave your land and go to Eretz Canaan, and only at that point in his life, what started happening was that this awareness of God, Abraham planted into the hearts of the people until they, with their own intellect, they understood it and it became part of them. So it wasn't just Abraham is forcing his opinion, and you have an argument with someone and until they can't argue with you anymore, but they're not convinced. On Shabbos, we had a heated discussion, and we had a heated discussion about Israel and everything. So we were talking. So this individual said, I can't have it on my shoulders and my conscience that the Jews killed 1 million Palestinians or whatever it is. So I opened my mouth. So I was like, you know what? There's so many Jews are 1% of the population. Like, let everyone else open up their doors and take in these refugees.
Exactly, 7 countries around them, Arabs. Nobody wants.
So he said to me, "Oh, all the borders are closed. They're not letting anyone." Well, this was Shabbos. By now things may be different. But he said, "Oh, no one's going to let them in." So now, what am I supposed to say? So you stop. So now I can't say anything.
Why yesterday Zoom call, whatever, and you're saying someone says, how would we take it on our conscience and not to kill? How do we answer to the world? We kill. So he said, we don't kill. They started the war. We imagine if someone's shooting, a few kids and he's beating a human shield. If they did, why do we not shoot one missile?
We never started.
Yeah, this just not killing ourselves. This is
the action. Come on,
it's so loaded.
We started any war. We didn't start anything. We're protecting ourselves. We have a responsibility.
So the argument is that not all of them are bad and some of them are innocent. No, I agree with you 100%. I'm just playing.
And by the way,
so I'm playing devil's advocate. So I'm saying you can have a conversation with someone, have a debate, but the debate ended because if you're going to tell me that there is one or I don't know how many individuals that are really not. They're not going to come and kill you, but they're going to support the terrorists.
Hard to believe, and now within you also.
Okay, so who are you to differentiate? This one is a terrorist. This one, you can't differentiate between them.
I heard from Rabbi that said there are Amalek, worse than Amalek is the people from within us that support Hamas.
So I'm just giving you an example that you have a debate with somebody or you have a strong, disagreement. But the thing is that at the end of the conversation, we said, have a good Shabbos, but no one was convinced, and you didn't convince me. I still stand where I stand, and he still stands where he stands. So that's the first level. The first level is that we can have a debate, and okay, until you shut me up, I have nothing to say. I can't continue the debate. But then there's the next level. When Avram already goes to Israel and he has tens of thousands of followers, where he's able that those people themselves, that they themselves in their own heart, that they get it, becomes their identity, and they truly understand. They truly understand that there is a creator. It's not imposed on them from above, but rather they get it. They get it, and Avram planted in their heart this awareness of God. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Avram taught the men and Sarah taught the women. Okay, so all that is wonderful and great, but it's all still in the realm of logic.
talked them into it. It wasn't like they came to it themselves.
No. Eventually, they owned it. They did own it, but they owned it, in their mind.
Makes sense.
It made sense to them. So then you have Avram, who passes this to his child, to his child Yitzchak, who passes it to Yaakov, and then we have Yaakov and his children, and they all knew God with their logic. So what happened? They come to Egypt. They knew it. Avram had to discover everything on his own. They were born from the cradle knowing God. What happened that they're in Egypt for a long time, and all of a sudden they copied the Egyptians and they're serving idols like the Egyptians? And remember, it's illogical. It's illogical. If you're going to put the wooden idol outside and it's going to get stolen, it can't protect itself. How's it going to protect you? Although it's illogical, they copied the Egyptians until, go ahead.
No, I'm just like, it's illogical, but that was the struggle of the generation over the Zohar. Like, I can't understand it, but all the books, that's what they talk
What are they talking about?
the Zohar.
Didn't they know that they were Jews until Moses came? Because when Moses came, they were still Jews.
Yeah, no, they knew who they were. They even, despite everything, they kept their own language, they kept their dress, 3 things, and they kept their names. They knew who they were. They knew who they were.
And it doesn't say when you read about Moses in his growing up and his mother and father, it doesn't say that they worshiped the Egyptian gods. It doesn't say that.
That the Jews worship the Egyptian gods? Okay, so I'll show you in the Chumash. I'll show you. Because at the end, when it came to saving the Jews, the angel said, "Why to God? Why are you saving the Jews? How are the Jews different than the non-Jews? Than the Egyptians. The Jews are serving idols just like the Egyptians are. It was a big problem. It was a big problem, but and that's why it was so. That's why it was so incredible that the Jews took the sheep and tied it to their bed for 4 days. They were risking their lives to do that. It was amazing that they did that, because at that point they were, God knew who the chosen nation should be. But what happened? And that's an excellent point. That I'm realizing as I'm speaking. What happened is God decided to choose the Jewish people to be his nation. And he chose Moshe to go and save them. And what Moshe did was, he was going to give them Hashem's commandments. As soon as Hashem gives a command, and you have to believe in God, not just because it makes sense to you in your head, logically, but because God said so, then you're talking about a whole different story.
What's the relationship between the logic and the soul?
Okay. The difference is that logic belief, when it comes only from logic, it's limited.
What you can absorb, then doesn't make sense. I'm not doing it.
The second
it doesn't make sense.
You go, you live it. It's not for you.
The second that Hashem commanded us to believe in him and not to worship idols, that's the moment that we get the strength to believe in God when things don't make sense.
And they opened up.
Challenge, right? Yeah.
Like right now.
That's right now, exactly.
By Hashem commanding the Jewish people to take a sheep and tie it to their bed, that's a command. The second there's a command, there becomes a foundation. There becomes a foundation for our belief in God. Because logic, if I believe in God because it makes sense to me, logic is not a foundation. And therefore, even if you know God from the cradle, if you're in Egypt, you could fall. So how lucky are we that Hashem gave us mitzvahs? Because that gives us this, because if Hashem said, so when you are told don't bow down to an idol, why do you not bow down to an idol? Because it makes sense not to bow down to an idol, or because Hashem said so? Because Hashem said so. Well, you need both. You do need both. And that's why the Rambam says that when it comes to idol worship, which is not to serve idols, or the positive commandment, which is to know God, to believe in God, to believe in his unity, there are two aspects. It's not just bowing to the idol, not bowing to the idol. It's also an intellectual thing. You have to understand in your head that logically, you have to use your logic also and understand that it doesn't make sense to bow down to an idol, and that it makes sense to believe in one creator. You do have to have, there are two parts to the mitzvah, yes. But yeah, at the same time, we are so lucky that it's not just about our logic, but it's about the fact that Hashem commanded us. Because only when we do it, because Hashem said so, do we have do we get the foundation? Do we get the foundation, and do we get the connection, and do we get the assurance that we're not going to stray, that we're not going to fall off the deep end, that we're going to stay committed forever? Because the knowledge itself is not an insurance policy. You see, the Germans, they were very logical and very smart and very systematic, and they had all kinds of, to cure for animals. But all of a sudden, when their logic told them that Jewish people are whatever they thought, then that gave them permission to do whatever they wanted. So yeah, they were very smart people. But it was based on their logic, and then if it's just based on your logic, you can make big mistakes. And guess what? We don't have to go to the Nazis. We could go right now to Israel. If people can do the horrible things that they're doing, right? It's because their logic tells them that this is their religion. This is what will give them a place in paradise. I don't know what they're taught. I don't know what they believe. But it's to them, in their mind, in their crooked, messed up, horrible logic. There's some kind of logic in their head that's because they're not giving up their life. They're not giving up their life for the sake of God. They're giving up their life for what they can gain out of it. We've discussed the difference between the Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda, right? I'm saying the terrorists. So I'm saying when Avraham is ready to sacrifice his son, he's ready to give up everything that he worked for his whole life. He's doing it for God. But when terrorists give up their life, it's because their family will get the money, or the street will be named after them, or they'll get whatever they're promised in heaven, or whatever. So it's all selfish. So there's some logic that tells them that there's going to be some benefit to giving up giving up their life. But the logic is all messed up. Why? Because logic is limited. And if you just have logic, then you could end up being the most horrible animal, or worse. So basically, Ashreinu Matayv Chalkeinu, that Hashem chose us to give us his Torah, to give us his commandments, not to be a burden, but rather because he cherishes us and he loves us so much, to keep us close to him, to keep us committed, to keep us loyal forever, no matter what. And it's all because Hashem crowned us Hashem gave us a crown, and that's his mitzvahs. And that's what makes us a holy nation, different from every other nation. That's what makes our land a holy land. That's what makes us do holy things in times of crisis.
Absolutely. Especially today, you see it. Especially today.
Right. And that's what the nations can't figure out. They can't figure out. I wanted to say this story last week and I forgot, but I'm going to say it now. And that is my, Simchas Torah. After Simchas Torah, we heard that there were some shuls that stopped the dancing when they heard the news. By us, we obviously continued dancing. And my husband shared a story, and he said that it was the time of the Holocaust. And there were 50 boys that were chosen in advance to be gassed in the gas chambers on Simchas Torah. It was specifically planned because of Simchas Torah. This is what they were going to do. And the 50 comes Simchas Torah, and the 50 boys are in the gas chambers, and they're waiting for they're waiting for the end. And one boy says, "We don't have a Torah, but at Simchas Torah, we have Hashem. We're going to dance." In the gas chambers, they're dancing because it's Simchas Torah. The Nazis couldn't handle it. They don't get us. They can't. They don't understand. They said, "What's the explanation of all this? All of you get out." And who's the one that had this idea? And what's the explanation behind this? How dare you? So the boy says, "Listen, it's Simchas Torah, and you can't stop us from dancing with God." So Nazi says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to teach you a lesson. Tomorrow, they torture all of you in front of everybody and whatever." And what happened was that very night, this Nazi who said this got a command from even a more top Nazi general, a Nazi person, that this bigger Nazi needed 50 guys for something. And these 50 boys walked right out of that camp. Wow. And every single one of them, their life was, survived the war. Every single one of these 50 boys. So they don't get us. They don't get us because we're not logical people. We're not logical people. Our connection, our relationship with Hashem is not, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that you open COL, all you see is this community is doing Teretz Field stuck on that community and this, all the good things. So last night, a older man who's sick, he has, I don't know which disease, whatever he's fighting, comes to the rabbi, he wants a bris milah. He wants a bris milah for he's doing it for Israel. Everyone is going out of their way to do something extra. It's incredible. This is our response. My sister, my baby sister, she posted on the family WhatsApp, who has a challah recipe? I never made challah before. Who has a challah recipe? So I wrote the challah recipe, whatever. And I was like, yeah, you know what? She's making challah. That inspired me. Like she has one baby. She's she works really hard, and she's making challah. I'm gonna make a double batch of challah. Made a double batch of challah. I had a doctor's appointment. I knew that the doctor is Jewish, so I was like, so I gave him a challah, and I encouraged. And he told me that his daughter is in Michigan, and she's on fall break. And she's coming home because there's so much anti-Semitism. She's coming home 12 o'clock today. This is Friday. So I encouraged him to light Shabbos candles. Oh, we usually don't do that, but because of the challah, I'm going to ask her to light Shabbos candles. Then on my way home, I planned this in advance. I stopped off on my way home. Literally, I stopped off at Likkutei Dental, and I gave the orthodontist a challah, and I went to the other doctor, and I gave him a challah. That Adam Ripo, I called the office. He's there. So I was 3 challahs. Then I left a message on the family WhatsApp. I was so inspired by Mushka, and that she was making challah, so I made challah, whatever. So Mushka sends me a message back, says, "Hani, I hate to say this, but I didn't actually end up making the challah." but because you just did that, you just made an extra challah, I'm gonna make challah. And she sends me a video of the challah spinning in the mixer. So I was like, okay, well, if you did that, then I have to do something else. So I called.
This is gonna be a holiday. for you.
Right.
So I called someone else who I know that would really appreciate the challah, and her husband came by and I gave him challahs. That was 4 challahs. Then on Sunday, Dorit was there. A friend, she organizes like adult programs for her synagogue. So she invited me and my husband to come, and I was like, I'm not going to be embarrassed. I brought a bag of Shabbos candle kits, and I said, Naomi, I said, I have Shabbos candles. I have these little Shabbos candle kits. If anyone wants, he goes, Hani, do you want to speak? I said, sure. And I just stood up and I don't know, whatever I said. I said, Ramana Friedman said, I said that we have to realize that this is a holy land and we're a holy people. We have to do holy things and we have to add in mitzvahs. I said, does anyone want a candle lighting kit? 4 people raised their hand and I gave them Shabbos candles, so 4 challahs, 4 candles, whatever it is. But I'm saying everyone is just doing a little bit more. That's how we react to tragedy. I mean, just bring more light into the world. That's all. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting carried away. Okay,
What's
what's
coming up for me? You said that everyone commanded,
you have the foundation of the connection.
and thing is that like logic without moral, like a moral compass,
Without
leads to
Torah.
whatever. But because we have the Torah, we have the moral compass. Whatever. It's just like.
And also, Manas Rubin says this. He says, instead of us being so apologetic and looking to the world to ask the world, oh, is it okay for us to do what we want, what we need to do? The world, we have to realize the world is looking at us. We're the light unto the nations. We're the example.
Mm-hmm.
Something has to change. Something has to change. We can't just keep making the same mistakes that we've made all the other times.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not
Well,
sitting
we
there and
know
thinking
that.
what the world would say. They come to kill you.
Politics doesn't follow the Torah.
Give
If
me a
follow the
break.
Torah, there'll be a long time.
Oh, yeah, a long
No,
time.
they don't follow the Torah logic.
Exactly.
There's a problem. Trying to
Long
be
time.
nice to them.
His son who was a friend in Israel, he spoke to the commanded that everybody in Israel wants to go with.
Oh, yeah, everyone.
Everyone wants to
Amazing.
Right.
check them out.
Right.
And the big rabbis in Israel, that Mavet. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, all the Rabbanim. All the Rabbanim.
they're not people.
No, they're not.
They're like, I
They'll
want
put them down.
These are not people.
Yeah.
No.
The world is-
We need to think about them. Give me a break.
As victims, and they're terrorists themselves. If they have the chance to go out and do what they did, Jews would do it.
Mhm.
Simple as that.
Yeah, but it's incredible, the
I'd like to
unity.
know how they'd feel if someone came to their house.
You know, it's almost,
yeah.
it's okay,
They don't feel
so
it.
you took a piece of you stole my car, I'm gonna go with your daughter in front of you. I'm gonna go behead your child, okay, I was wrong, you could do that, this is, that's how.
Mhm.
that's how-
Crazy.
I think it's disgusting. These kids have to go to school and campus.
Baby.
Go against, boycott this campus, the hell with this campus. Build your own
Exactly.
campus.
That's what I.
Terrible. Horrible. Who knows about
More
Parents should not send their children to these colleges.
Absolutely. I
I
agree.
had a non-Jewish person come and say something to me years ago. That's what I told him. I said, you sit around the table, this is where you learn it. You sit around the table with your family and you discuss about it and discuss it, Jewish people. Do we even sit around the table to discuss you? We don't even think of you. You have nothing to offer. You sit around, oh, how do they make money? They're making money. I said, get educated. God gave you a brain, use it. Looked at me like, how dare you? I said, well,
Well,
you're coming to me as a
God help
Jewish
anybody
to tell
who
me
says
nonsense.
anything.
I'm gonna. You will come with the machine gun.
I
No.
have the
I can
biggest
see
mouth
you.
when it comes to this. He runs very nice and quiet.
No, but we're the chosen nation. And I said this on Sunday. I said, number one, Jewish pride. Number one, Jewish pride. Manos Friedman said this. It was good that I listened to him on Shabbos. But I'm saying number one is Jewish pride. And we have to realize that the whole world is looking at us. We're the ones that set the tone. We're the teachers of the world. Not that we have to go to them to ask them for their permission.
The world. And look at France. France now putting people in jail if they are supporting Hamas. 5 years in jail. France. You could see Germany, taking people out. You supporting Hamas. The policeman is there to remove them. We need to do stuff like that in America too. That freedom of speech need to stop. It's a freedom of hate. So we need to also worry about that.
And now we're going to go to the Tanya. And every time we're so lucky
It's
that the Tanya is just whatever. It's just so incredibly beautiful. At this point in Tanya, you already spoke about how to have a relationship with God. You already spoke about any challenges that come our way that prevent us, whether it be lack of joy for material reasons, for spiritual reasons. We spoke about joy that we have the opportunity to make a dwelling place for Hashem. Now what? What's the problem now? What's your issue now? What do you need to come back for a private audience to the Alter Rebbe? What's stopping you now? What's bothering you now? What's your issue now? Everything should be done. We were done. What's bothering you now? Comes chapter 35 of Tanya, and you say everything is good and fine. But what is the value of a mitzvah? What is the value of my service? It's a philosophical question. Now we're going to philosophy. Practically, everything is good. Everything works. I struggle every day. I don't want to daven and learn and be good and whatever, but I do it anyway, and it's all working. But philosophically, now comes the philosophy. If I will never be a tzaddik, because I'm not meant to be a tzaddik, I'm meant to strive to be a Beinoni. I'm going to struggle my whole life between the good and bad inclinations, and this is my mission. So a person could say, what is the value? What is the value if I will never be a tzaddik anyway? And every day I have to get out of bed and struggle again. And should I look at the internet and see the news, or should I, whatever, whatever the challenge is that day, and fight and fight and fight. It's a hard work. What's the point? Maybe what the Alter Rebbe is saying, that we should strive to be a Beinoni, maybe that's just like to console me and to tell me, listen, you're never going to get there, so just be happy with being a Beinoni, and that's it. And here comes the Alter Rebbe and says like this: we're not just trying to console you because, you're never going to be a tzaddik, so you'll never be able to be in the big league, so just be happy with where you are or whatever. It says, it gives a mashal, gives a parable. There is a flame, a wick, and oil. What's the flame? What's the wick? And what's the oil? Who wants to guess? What is it? So what is it? He says that okay. So okay. You're saying the flame is a neshama, which is what most people say. In this case, the flame is not the neshama. The neshama is not part of the equation. In this case, although most of the time we do say a flame is a neshama. The Alter Rebbe says like this: there's a wick. The wick is the body. Oil is a mitzvah. And the flame is God's light that comes down. And he says, there's a verse that says, Chacham einav b'rosho. A smart person, his eyes are in his head. So the Yenuka asks, the Yenuka was like a very smart child, and he asks, what do you mean his eyes are in his head? Where should his eyes be? So the answer is, his eyes are above his head. His eyes are always making sure, his eyes are always looking on his head. What's on your head? On your head is godliness. That's why a person is not supposed to walk four amos without a yarmulke, without washing negavasser, because there's godliness surrounding over every single Jew. So someone who's smart, so a chacham, a wise person, he's always making sure that the godliness, the flame, is on his head. And how do you do that? Your body is the wick, and you're always making sure there's enough oil. And what's the oil? What's the fuel? That's a mitzvah. He's always making sure that he has enough mitzvahs to keep the flame on his head. So you think, what's the value of my life? A tzaddik is so great. You know what a tzaddik does? He has an animal soul and a godly soul. He takes his animal soul and he transforms it until it becomes a second godly soul. I don't have the power to do that. But guess what? What is the fuel? What is the energy that gives me the ability to do a mitzvah? My godly soul has 3 garments, and my animal soul has 3 garments. The 3 garments are thought, speech, and action. With my animal soul, with my godly soul's thought, speech, and action, I learn Torah, I say the words of Torah, I say the words of Tehillim, I pray, whatever it is. Actually, yeah. But in order to light a candle, in order to put on tefillin, in order to give tzedakah, I'm actually using the 3 garments of my animal soul. So I cannot do a mitzvah without a body. If my body's not here, I don't have a source to do it. So you think, oh, I'm second-class citizen, I can never be a tzaddik. But what a body could accomplish, a soul can't accomplish. A soul is different than a body because I'm having trouble in my head trying to figure out when I speak words of Torah, when I learn Torah, when I speak, I'm using my mouth, which is a physical body. I need to do some more research. I'm not 100% clear with that. But basically, without a body, without my body, I can't say the words of Torah with my mouth. I need a mouth.
Unless.
Okay.
I'm thinking of Rabbi Jordan. I think he recorded all his Parsha and Tanya and everything. He's still teaching and he's not here. Doesn't have a body, but he's still teaching.
But that's a different thing. It's through audio and stuff like that. But he's still influenced.
Yeah.
He used
But-
to record.
Exactly. He
Was
used his
body.
mouth, he used his body.
He still gets
He's
the,
still.
he gets the- he still gets the everything.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, I have to think about it. But anyway, I have to learn it, relearn, go back to Perek Gimel. But in any case, without my body, we all agree. We can't do a mitzvah without a body, right? So a body is a vehicle to become one with God. As great and as holy and as amazing as my soul is, my soul and Hashem, it's a relationship. The soul loves God. The soul fears God. The soul is not one with God. The only way that we could become one with God is through a mitzvah. You use your body. There's a subjective and objective. What's the difference? Subjective is everyone's different. So if you perceive it that way, it's up to you. It's up to how you see it. Objective is it's happening whether you get it or not. Whether you get it or not, When you take a penny and put it in the pushka, you just became one with Hashem. End of story. Whether you perceive it, whether you understand it, whether you don't understand it, it's not about that. And so you think, oh, poor me, I could only, I struggle my whole life. But the Alter Rebbe is saying, you don't, he's saying like this, even the greatest tzaddik, how do you have an effect on this world? You want to do something in this world? It's only through the body. The only way you could truly connect and be one with God is through using your body to doing a physical command. That's it. So don't be sad. Don't be upset and say, oh, poor me, I can never reach the level of a tzaddik. But realize that the whole point of being on this earth is to become one with Hashem. Only over here do we have that opportunity. And the only way that happens is through doing a mitzvah and through the wick, which is the body. And that's why when things don't make sense, we go and do a mitzvah. Because the mitzvah is what gives us the connection. That's how everything is. I'll end up with a story. I think it was the Baal Shem Tov. I think it was the Baal Shem Tov. A woman comes to the shul. It was right after Shabbos, but no one made Havdalah yet. And the woman says, I'm in desperate need. My daughter is getting married and I have no money. So the Alter Rebbe tells Chassidim, everyone put your hands in your pocket and take out the money that's in your pocket and give it to the lady. And everyone put their hands into their pocket and took out money and gave it to the lady. So it's a miraculous story. So what was the miracle? The real miracle was that the people who were all dressed in Shabbos clothes that did not have money in their pockets, right. The miracle is that they took their hands and they put their hands in their pockets, even though they knew that there was no money in their pockets, and then there was money in their pockets. So it's the faith. It's the faith that it's a lot. We didn't go home yet. We didn't touch our wallets, our phones, or nothing. But the Rebbe says, put your hands in your pockets. You put your hands in your pockets because we're above. We're above logic. So it's just. I was speaking to someone last night at a bas mitzvah. She's like, "How do we?" I said, the only way we could go on is just through learning Torah. When you learn Torah, you become so uplifted. And you realize you have you realize what we actually need to do. And it's just you feel a holy special nation rather than feel we're as God, it's just a whole different perspective and outlook. And you come out feeling how lucky I am to be a Jew, despite everything that's going on. And we have direction.
You say, Torah is oil, and the mitzvah oil. What about
well, learning Torah is so amazing because last week we were talking about the power of speech, of Torah and Tefillah. This week we're talking about the amazingness of action. So everything is true. Whatever you're doing something good. So in some classes we focus on, and so some classes everything has an advantage. So sometimes you focus on the advantage of action. Sometimes you would focus on advantage of speech. It depends, relative, relative to what you're talking about. But yeah, learning Limud Torah is also a mitzvah, so you get both.
It's beautiful to see the soldiers today going with so much passion and talking about God and unity, and it's just amazing. And so many upon them, right, put tefillin, and it's just amazing. And they're willing to do it.
Yeah.
They want one guy. Yeah, and you know how they give them food. So one soldier came to a guy, offer food. I don't want food. I want tzitzit. Amazing. And you could see thousands of, it was Chabad or I don't know who gave them tzitziot for all the
all over,
soldiers
they
to
do
feel. I felt like we are
community.
in the time of the Bible, to feel like a shield against the enemy. And you could see the level of bitachon b'Hashem today. It's just
That's what, yeah.
amazing.
what keeps them
They
going.
dancing with the Torah, going to a war. It's just crazy
They thought
stuff.
that the fact that Israel was so divided,
And look how
that they
united
stayed
they are.
divided.
It's very
I
sad
feel
that
that
the
the
community
minute
didn't
that
work together, us united.
And who united us, if you think about it, it's the Torah,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's what it is. And the passion, and then you go to your core, who you really are.
That's it.
And
That's
then
the truth. That's what
everything
the truth.
comes
Yeah,
out.
We all want it, one, right?
And all,
It's only
right,
the outside is divided.
the
that's all
outside,
yeah.
but the inside, all the same.
Yeah,
And to
you
see
should hold on
the
to this
passion
unity,
of the
that will
soldier,
yeah.
it's just amazing.
it's
All these
signal
things
that
answer
Mashiach
yeah, the
is
question
coming.
why
They're saying we are
Noach
going
at the
through
time
that.
Abraham, why is it there? Because it
They're
was,
saying we are
somebody
going
else.
through
Because
that.
when-
The Mashiach is coming.
So Noach, when we say that, if Noach would have lived in Avram's generation, we don't know if he would have been righteous or not. Avram's generation is only considered, it's only called Avram's generation, that Avram said, this is my generation, once he planted within them the awareness of God.
So it's like later. When
So that
when
was
we
later
left,
on, Noach wasn't alive anymore.
uh-huh.
So the first, when Avram is still arguing with them,
Oh,
and they're not getting it, and they're just, okay, you won the but then that wasn't considered Abraham's people. It wasn't Abraham's generation.
What was Noah's level of knowing Hashem? Was it the logic knowing? You're saying he was taught.
So once you're taught, it's logic. No, I don't think, no. He recognized Hashem. He was not an idol worshiper, no. But you see, if you compete,
He didn't
yeah.
have faith because he didn't go into the Teva until
The water were like that, really.
So Rashi does say that he didn't have
Faith.
Yes.
that was touched by Hashem.
What was he lacking that he was only good in his generation?
So he had the knowledge, but he didn't have the faith. The truth is that we didn't get the faith until Hashem chose us.
When he built the ark, he must have had
Yes.
faith that
Yeah,
he was supposed to.
Guess
do
what?
this.
Higher level.
Hashem
Yeah,
commanded him to build the ark.
that's why. Oh,
Yeah,
it goes
but-
back to commandment.
As soon as there's a
True.
command, then you
Then
become. As soon as there's a command, you're on a different level.
Different level. Right.
I'm
Then
just-
he gave him
I'm
the
just
strength
saying
to
that.
do
Just that just. I'm saying you brought that up. That's what we're basically saying. As soon as there's a command, build the teva. You all of a sudden get raised
One level
from
to
instead of being just like everyone else. You're chosen.
Faith begins where intellect ends.
You're right.
What's the difference between Noah that Avram found Hashem on his own, right? Is it God find Noah? That's the difference. Whereas Avram found, then Hashem called out to Noah. That's the difference because Avram was the first that discovered Hashem.
Yeah.
What's different was that Hashem reached out to Noah, like the opposite, like that's the difference.
Well, yes, Avram.
It's different.
First, there's different levels in Avram's life. First, Avram recognized God, and only then did Hashem appear to him.
But Noah didn't have to look, but Hashem reached out to him. That's the difference. He didn't
So
find himself.
Noach knew.
I know.
His grandfather, Mr. Shelach, had a yeshiva.
It was more open.
Yeah, he did not have to discover.
But
He
discovered on his own.
didn't discover it on his own.
It said Esther Kim Salach Noach, that Noach needed guidance with help versus Abraham
Yeah.
that was Salach Lefunai.
Yeah, yes, he didn't need the support. That Noach constantly needed support.
After the Mabel, everybody had started over, so you have to find, before the Mabel, I guess people knew him, right, and after the Mabel, then they find him, first find him, in that generation.
Yeah,
Before, there was no.
right, exactly.
They all knew that, they all. knew Hashem.
So there's a few people that list that did not worship idols. I'm saying you can look in the Rambam, but Noach definitely knew God.
Didn't.
But Abraham, what's amazing about Abraham is that when the whole world disagreed with him, he did not let it get to him. He stuck, no matter what they threatened him with, No matter what they say, oh, be quiet, don't say that. Da, da, da. He didn't let anyone stop him. But ultimately, you see the stages in his life. First, you have the logic, right? He discovered God on his own. Then God affirms it by revealing himself to him. But ultimately, what's the end of his life? He's ready to sacrifice his son, which is illogical. Everything that right, because and before that you have the bris milah, God giving him a command.
Right.
As soon as you have a command, you say, thank you, Hashem, for the opportunity to do this mitzvah, because only through doing a mitzvah can I become one with you. It's not just about feeling spiritual. The soul goes to Gan Eden and it feels very spiritual, but it's separate from God. And that's why the soul has to be separate. To go to Gan Eden, the soul has to separate from the body, because the body doesn't see and appreciate godliness. So in order for the soul has to be disembodied in order to go to Gan Eden. So the body doesn't get it, but only through the body do we actually become one with Hashem. And that, as great as the soul is, that we don't get that from the soul. The soul appreciates and enjoys the beautiful, heaven and God and everything like that. Body doesn't get it, but it's only through the body that we could do it. Okay.
Thank you.
A lot to think about.
Amazing.